It's 10 o'clock. This is Sky News at 10. Our top story. The Russian spy ship on the edge of British waters. The UK warns that military options are ready should it continue to be a threat. Reports of a possible peace plan for Ukraine drafted by Russia and the US as Moscow steps up its drone attacks. A patchwork of dust and misery. We report from on the ground inside the wreckage of Gaza.
It's a landscape of devastated buildings. And the sounds you hear, well, that's a drone above us. These wild dogs barking and occasional bouts of gunfire.
Also tonight, a week ahead of the budget, Sir Keir Starmer refuses to rule out extending the freeze on income tax thresholds. New warnings of wintry conditions as much of the UK is hit by an Arctic blast. And we'll take a first look at tomorrow's front pages. That's coming up in our press preview from 10:30 right through to midnight. Hello, good evening. The UK's Defence Secretary has warned Russia that military options are available should the spy ship Yantar become a threat. John Healey said it is the second time this year that Moscow has deployed the vessel close to British waters and that crew members on the ship had directed lasers at RAF pilots to distract them. In response, the Russian embassy said the UK's suspicions only raise a smile. It comes as MPs warn today that Britain doesn't have a plan to protect itself from attack, despite ongoing threats from both Russia and China. Our international affairs editor, Dominic Waghorn, has this report.
This is the Yantar being stalked by the Royal Navy in 2018. It may not look much, but beneath its scruffy exterior, this is Russia's most advanced spy ship, bristling with surveillance and intelligence gathering technology. And now back on the edge of British waters, prompting this warning from the UK's Defence Secretary.
My message to Russia and to Putin is this. We see you, we know what you're doing, and if the Yantar travels south this week, we are ready.
The Yantar can map and potentially attack undersea cables and pipelines off our coast. But also worrying defence officials this time, RAF planes sent to track the Yantar were attacked with dazzling lasers.
We deployed a Royal Navy frigate and RAF P-8 planes to monitor and track this vessel's every move, during which the Yantar directed lasers at our pilots. That Russian action is deeply dangerous.
Russians are thought to have used lasers against Royal Navy ships before, but not flight crews. It is, say military experts, a worrying development.
I mean, if this had been used to dazzle a pilot of an aircraft and that aircraft had subsequently crashed, then maybe the case could be made like not only was this hostile, but it was fundamentally an armed attack because it had the same impact as if you'd launched a weapon. I think the government's probably publicising it in order to build up a case that demonstrates the Russians do not act professionally.
Britain's Ministry of Defence has released this thermal image of the Yantar. Sky's data and forensics team has analysed it. It shows the A-frame of the boat used to deploy underwater equipment in its operating position. Strong evidence the Yantar was engaged in underwater surveillance at the time the photo was taken. But in a statement this evening, the Russian embassy in London said the endless accusations and suspicions of the British leadership only raise a smile. The actions of our country do not affect the interests of the United Kingdom and are not aimed at undermining its security. We are not interested in British underwater communications. The developments come as Russia intensified attacks on Ukraine, with devastating airstrikes in the far west of the country. Cruise missiles and drones hitting a block of flats, killing at least 25 people, including 3 children. Russia's relentless aggression continues while it prods NATO countries with a range of hybrid provocations, preparing potentially for more open conflict. Dominic Waghorn, Sky News.
It's being reported tonight that the United States and Russia are in talks aimed at drawing up a peace plan for the war in Ukraine. But there's concern that Ukraine again isn't involved in those discussions, nor are European powers. Well, let's bring in our US correspondent Mark Stone. And reports mark that the plan includes Ukraine giving up territory, weapons, massively cutting the size of its army, all of course unpalatable to Kyiv. But this isn't published yet, and it has been a day of intrigue to find out more.
Yeah, it's been one of those days where there have been snippets of news in various different areas. I've been bashing the phones, trying to put this jigsaw piece together. But at the heart of it appears to be a plan that the Russians and the Americans have been discussing. It kind of has echoes of the Gaza plan because it is a multi-point plan, which we believe that one of Putin's envoys has been discussing with Steve Witkoff down in Florida, which is Steve Witkoff's base. Now, this plan was first reported by Axios, and the intrigue then got greater because at lunchtime, Steve Witkoff replied to the Axios story and to the reporter on X, on Twitter, basically saying he must have got this story from Kay. Now, he meant clearly to send that message privately, but he published it publicly. Kay is believed to be Kirill Dmitriev, who is the Russian envoy, kind of Witkoff's Russian counterpart, who's been to the United States a few times. So maybe Witkoff here is kind of confirming that the story is true. He hasn't commented, he's since deleted that post. But at the heart of the plan appears to be a Russian-American proposal that the war secretary, that the army secretary, the most senior civilian in the ministry, the defense ministry here in Washington, is now presenting, and we've had that confirmed, is now presenting to the Ukrainians at military level. And this plan at the heart of it would see the Donbass, that is the whole of the area to the east of Ukraine, being given over to Russia, even the 15% or so of land that is currently not held by Russia. And in return, there would be some sort of a security guarantee by the Americans. But as yet, we still don't have detail on what that security guarantee will be. The final piece of this jigsaw is that the Europeans, the coalition of the willing, which includes the British, were not privy to this plan, and nor were the Ukrainians at the point at which it was drawn up, although the Ukrainian, one of the Ukrainian senior officials has been in Florida as well, so they're kind of getting them up to speed. But this is something to watch for sure.
Absolutely. Mark, thank you. Well, to Gaza now, where Sky News has witnessed firsthand the devastation caused by months of relentless bombardment. Israel does not allow news organisations to report independently from Gaza, but today it took a group of journalists, including Sky News, into the area of the Strip occupied by Israeli forces. Well, the brief visit was highly controlled, offered no access to Palestinians or other areas of Gaza. Military censorship laws in Israel mean that military personnel were shown all our material before publication. Sky News maintained editorial control of this report at all times. So to give you a clear idea of what we witnessed, here is Gaza, and you can see the yellow initial IDF withdrawal line agreed to as part of the ceasefire deal. The images caught by our cameras are on either side of that yellow line in Shuja'iyya, which was once home to more than 100,000 people. Our Middle East correspondent Adam Parsons has this report.
Enter Gaza and you are surrounded by the scars of war, by the fields of rubble and ruin and the echoes of pain. We've come here with the Israeli military. They're in charge of where we go and what we see. We're on their side of the yellow line that now divides Gaza. On the other is the territory still controlled by Hamas.
We've just entered Gaza. The vista out there is complete destruction. This is the Israeli side of the yellow line. There are almost no civilians here, lots of IDF personnel. We're heading to the vantage point. We can see the other side of the yellow line. That's where around 2 million Gazans are packed together.
We're taken to an army base a couple hundred meters from the yellow line, and this is the view. 100,000 people used to live in this historic town. Now it is a scene of absolute ruin. The red and white mast in the distance sits right on the dividing line. Beyond that, Hamas is in control. And that border amplifies chronic mistrust and loathing, and today that led to more violence. Listen to this. We regularly heard automatic gunfire in the near distance. And we then learned that Israeli soldiers had seen people crossing the yellow line and had shot them dead. Israel says they were Hamas terrorists. The soldiers here insist their role still hasn't changed, that they're protecting Israelis from attack, that Hamas is an unrepentant enemy.
They haven't changed who they are. And it's going to need pressure from the international community and maybe also from Israel to make sure they disarm. Hamas is rearming. Hamas is killing its opposers on the street. Hamas is trying to assert dominance in Gaza, is trying to assert their power. And Hamas is parading the streets with guns.
And that sense of an unfinished mission pervades here. So long as Hamas still has weapons, it is very hard to imagine Israel withdrawing from this blighted land.
Well, the vista here is incredibly bleak. It's a landscape of devastated buildings. And the sounds you hear, well, that's a drone above us. These wild dogs barking and occasional bouts of gunfire. Now, the Israeli military controls where we go and what we see. So they have allowed us to witness this. And I can just see a plume of smoke coming up there from an explosion. But what we don't get to do here is meet the civilians, who are just a few hundred meters away from us on the other side of the yellow line.
We may not be able to get there, but others can. So while I looked at Shajir from one side, our colleagues from Gaza visited from the other, witnessing the destruction from ground level. It's hard to imagine anyone could live among this, but remarkably some do. Iman's home has been destroyed. Her husband is desperately ill, her children are exhausted, and she is at breaking point, living among rubble.
I'm giving up. One day they will announce that we have all been killed. We are sitting on the edge of the yellow line, and there is so much suffering.
We ask if she finds any comfort at all in the peace plan.
I want to be optimistic, but I'm still not 100% sure what is going to happen. They are giving us anaesthetic to numb our pain.
But that pain and tension rolls on. In the hours after we left Gaza, more than 24 people were killed by Israeli military action, according to the Gaza Health Ministry. There is a ceasefire here, but it doesn't always feel like it. Adam Parsons, Sky News, in Gaza.
UK inflation has eased slightly, falling for the first time in 7 months. Latest data from the Office for National Statistics show the figure fell to 3.6% in October. That is down from 3.8% in September. Analysts are now expecting it to fall further. The ONS said lower energy price rises were the main reason for the dip, with a monthly rise of only 0.9% for gas, and that compares to nearly 8% a year ago. Well, with just a week now to go until the budget, Sir Keir Starmer has refused to rule out extending the freeze on income tax thresholds. It's thought to be one of the measures being considered by the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, as she seeks to fill the black hole in the public finances. Meanwhile, a Labour backbencher says he would consider giving up his seat to bring Andy Burnham back into the Commons to challenge for the leadership. Well, our political correspondent, Tamara Cohen, is outside number 11 Downing Street for us tonight. Some more questions, as expected, about the budget tomorrow. Well, that continuing speculation rumbles on about the future of the Prime Minister.
That's right. Kemi Badenoch got her first opportunity at Prime Minister's Questions today to ask the Prime Minister about the events of the last few days, in which, after heavy hints from the Chancellor Rachel Reeves, who gave a press conference here in Downing Street talking about the tough decisions and everyone having to contribute, heavy hints that she would raise income tax, the government then briefed that they weren't going to go ahead with that rise. And so where will they find these billions of pounds to fill the £20 to £30 billion black hole? We've got are only days to go. And the Prime Minister, of course, wouldn't say where exactly it would come from. But when the Conservative leader said to him, are you going to freeze the threshold, the rate at which people pay, the 20p and the 40p rate, which drags more people in every year, the Conservatives froze those until 2028. And just a year ago at her budget, Rachel Reeves said she wanted to end that freeze because she said it hurt working people. Well, he was asked whether that would be continued with, which would give the Chancellor about an extra £7 billion a year. And the suggestion is that that is what she's considering doing. Keir Starmer would not rule that out, although he said it wouldn't be austerity and it wouldn't be a borrowing spree.
Tamara, thank you. We are sorry for what happened and lessons must be learned. The message from a council leader today after Sky News investigated the failings which occurred before the death of a young woman who had been under his organisation's care. Nonita Grabowskite was just 18 when she took her own life after being let down by everyone who was supposed to look after her, particularly Barnet Council. A warning that this report from our People and Politics correspondent Nick Martin contains references to suicide.
In December 2023, 18-year-old Nonita Grabowskite took her own life. She was in the care of Barnet Council, her corporate parent. A coroner found that failings in her care contributed to her death. Now the council's leader has agreed to answer questions about the case, and another 2 care leavers who it's emerged died within a year of Nonita. Is the council sorry for failing Nonita in such a catastrophic way?
I think with any tragedy, there is an element of failure across different agencies and so on. And the important thing is learning from it.
I just want to know, are you sorry? Is the council sorry for the way that it failed Nonita so catastrophically?
We're sorry for what happened. We do realise there have been some failures by different agencies, including the council. It shouldn't happen and we need to learn about that.
Do you think Barnet fulfilled its corporate parenting duties towards these 3?
Each one is a tragedy. I mean, there might be times...
That's not what I asked.
No,
do you think that the council fulfilled its corporate parenting duties?
You can ask the question, but the answers are mine. Each one's a tragedy.
I'm just asking whether...
Do you think so to fulfil?
Did you fulfil your corporate parenting duties to these 3 young people? It's a very simple question.
If they would be alive if we did. I have a special responsibility as leader of the council. Obviously, if you can turn the clock back, you wouldn't want this to happen. But if we don't learn the lessons, it's even more of a waste. It's a waste anyway. It's a waste of a young life.
It's been 2 years since Nonita's death, but the council has been criticised for keeping the details of her case to only a small group of councillors and senior officers. Should there be more scrutiny within the council?
Yes, I think that is possibly one of the lessons learned, certainly about better scrutiny and more intense scrutiny.
This looks like a council that doesn't want people poring over its failures. This is a council that is being accused of a culture of silence and cover-up. And it looks exactly like that. Do you accept that?
No,
you don't?
I don't even see how you can reach that conclusion. I honestly don't. We do need to look at what we did, what we could have done better, and take in more responsibility.
In the weeks leading up to her death, crucial support was taken from Nonita as she left care. She was completely in the dark about where she was going to live. She had no mental health support.
And
she was all alone in December, and she took her own life, and you were responsible for her care?
Yes, and it failed. And obviously, that is quite happy to say, I'm sorry it failed.
Anybody watching this, and specifically if they live in Barnet, how can they have confidence in this council's ability to look after vulnerable children when 3 vulnerable young people have died in a year? They must look at this council and go, there's a problem here.
And that's why, for me, learning the lessons is the real key.
We hear that a lot. We hear learning lessons a lot. Your opposition councillors, not surprisingly, say, well, you're the leader, you should resign. Do you see a reason to resign?
No, I see a reason to learn the lessons and ensure that we make sure we have a better system that includes councillors more often.
So three care leaver deaths in a year is not a reason to resign?
No, I see, but I am best placed to make sure that the right lessons are learned and we start making a bigger difference to young people's lives and give them the support we can.
And if you've been affected by any of the issues raised in this story, then you can contact the Samaritans on 116 123 or joe@samaritans.org. Now, a Sky News investigation has identified a new suspect in the case of Matt Jeffrey, who was killed by a single punch while on a stag do on the Greek island of Zante. 2 men were arrested and convicted over the 35-year-old's death in 2019. But now, 6 years on, we've identified another man who has potentially evaded justice for years. Our home editor, Jason Farrell, has the story.
This is seconds before a fatal punch caught on camera. The victim, 35-year-old Matt Jeffrey, an AA man, husband, father. His family have waited 6 years for justice.
I know a lot of people say it, when people die, how amazing people were, but he genuinely was like the most amazing human being. He really was, 1 in a million.
It happened in May 2019 on a nightclub strip on the party island of Zakynthos, known as Zante. Matt was here on a stag do with his friends from Somerset. He wasn't initially involved when a fight broke out in a club called Sizzle, all captured on CCTV. Friends on the stag talked me through it.
Yeah, that's you in the... I'm here with the white sleeveless vest.
Yeah.
I then see this guy jump over my shoulder who's working behind the bar. So I follow him in to try and mediate and to pull people apart.
Matt's group leaves quickly, but the others, a group from Essex, seen with their shirts off, follow them out. We've obtained video footage from someone who was outside the club.
The footage, which was filmed exactly at this spot, we're not showing in full at the request of Matt Jeffrey's family. But in it, he's clearly stood with his arms open wide, not posing a threat.
Not at all. Not at all. If you want it, they all seen it, mate. They all seen it.
When he is slapped in the side of the head by someone standing here, and then almost immediately punched in the face, falling back, and then the 2 assailants walk off at first and then run off up the street.
I didn't see the punch. I saw as Matt hit the deck. The sound that I heard will never leave me.
Matt was airlifted to hospital but died of multiple head injuries.
You don't realise how fragile life is until something like this happens. Like, 1 minute someone's there, next minute they're gone, and it only takes one punch.
2 men, Luke Brownston and Adam O'Brien, were charged, released on bail, and 4 years later convicted of manslaughter and given 12 and 10-year sentences. But they didn't turn up to court in Patras on the Greek mainland. Only after we began investigating 6 years after the attack did Greek police issue extradition papers for one of the men, Luke Brownston, the man who threw the fatal punch. He was then arrested in Essex. But what of Adam O'Brien? Well, he had claimed in a court statement that he didn't hit Mr. Jeffrey. It was another man in his group called William Locke. We've seen a photo in Sizzle, date stamped on the night of the attack. In it, Adam O'Brien is wearing dark shorts, even though the police identify him as this man wearing white shorts. The shot inside Sizzle shows William Locke wearing white shorts. And there's another photo of him from the trip wearing them again. There's a thin black piping down the side. They look like the ones worn by the assailant in the video. Extradition lawyer Karen Todner now represents Adam O'Brien.
I think the main failing was that the Greek police failed to take witness statements from any of the group. By not taking those witness statements, they allowed William Locke to leave. And the fact is, they got the wrong guy.
But this is Mr. Locke, according to witness statements from 4 of the Essex group gathered by Karen Todner. And there's a facial mapping expert report, where the man in the video is called Person Y and compared to photos of Mr. Locke. It finds skin tone, build, forehead height and slope all similar. Brow ridge, eyebrows, nose root, similar. It says, I conclude there is strong support to the contention that Person Y and Mr. Locke are the same person. But with O'Brien, he says there is strong support that Person Y and Mr. O'Brien are not the same person. This evidence was rejected on appeal last December, although Adam O'Brien's sentence was downgraded, and it does raise questions for the family.
We wouldn't want an innocent person to go to prison for a crime they haven't done. we can only hope that if they've got the ability to clear his name, then they can get the correct person convicted for assisting in this crime.
William Locke lives in Colchester and has never been questioned about the attack.
We've come to Colchester really just to give this to William Locke and put to him these allegations that he is this man. I want to ask you about the death of Matt Jeffrey. Were you involved in the fatal assault of Matt Jeffrey, Mr. Locke? Can I give you this? Mr. Locke, can I give you this? Is that you? Is that you? Were you involved in the assault of Matt Jeffrey? Mr. Locke, can you take this?
We've approached police in Zante with our evidence and had no response. Luke Brownston has not responded and awaits extradition proceedings.
Can I give you this?
Adam O'Brien hasn't spoken to us, but his parents in a statement insisted he was wrongly convicted while expressing sympathy to the Jeffrey family.
Everyone needed a Matt Jeffrey because he was just so kind. He was hardworking. He loved me and the girls, his family, his friends.
We have pictures in our houses, we have pictures in our head, you know, of him, fun-loving Matt, and his smile. Which brings us back to how badly he's missed. For something so unnecessary.
Jason Farrell, Sky News.
A former Met Police officer, one of the UK's most prolific sex offenders, has been found guilty of a string of further offences. David Carrick was convicted of 9 counts, including rape, indecent assault and controlling or coercive behaviour against a 12-year-old girl and a former partner. He's already serving a life sentence after admitting crimes against 12 women over 17 years. The government has announced plans to make it illegal to resell tickets for live events above the original cost. The proposals aim to end industrial-scale ticket touting, and the government says resale tickets will be £37 cheaper on average, saving fans collectively £112 million per year. A painting by Gustav Klimt has sold for £180 million, making it the most expensive piece of modern art ever to be sold at auction. The portrait of Elizabeth Lederer was painted between 1914 and 1916 and helped save the life of its Jewish subject during the Holocaust. Well, it was sold to an anonymous buyer yesterday after a 20-minute bidding war at Sotheby's in New York. Now, cold temperatures brought snow as far as southern England today as weather warnings come into force across the UK. There are yellow warnings for snow and ice in Scotland until tomorrow night. Similar warnings are also in place for much of North East England and Yorkshire. A yellow warning for ice is also in effect across most of Wales. Well, many Scotland fans are still pinching themselves tonight after last night's dramatic victory against Denmark at Hampden Park. It's the first time in 28 years that the Tartan Army has reached the World Cup finals. Our Scotland correspondent Conor Gillis has the latest now from Glasgow.
It probably hasn't been a very productive day for hundreds of thousands of Scotland fans. Sore heads today. The country feels different because what a night, the biggest in decades. We haven't uttered this sentence since 1998. Scotland, the men's squad, is going to the World Cup. And it was edge of the seat stuff, a thriller game. 4 goals from the Scots, 2 of them in the frantic final few minutes of extra time. What a match. And we've been catching up with some of this winning squad as they left their hotel earlier on today.
I don't think it will sink in until we're probably until we're on that plane. Do you know what I mean? I just think that's the way of it. But what has sunk in is the achievement we've done in this campaign, because it was such a difficult group. We set out to finish top.
Incredible feeling, and yes, waiting for everybody just done to really sink in just how big it actually is.
That was incredible. Obviously, it was a really emotional night, but we deserve it. We've been through a lot as a group, and all the players having their families there and their friends was amazing.
As the hangovers wear off, the entire mood of the nation has been lifted. People have been walking the streets of Scotland today with a smile on their face. Football fan or not, everyone has been talking about it.
Oh, I loved it, man. It was a great result. I was actually working at it and I got to see the last goal, which was good. It was a screamer. It was unbelievable, man.
It was 1998, the last time we were there. I remember sitting on my granny's couch, not being able to go. My dad was there, so I didn't think I'd ever get to a World Cup after seeing the recent teams in recent years, so it's just been a godsend just getting this over the line.
I think it's made a lot of people happy. It was on the radio this morning on the way here as well, like 28 years. They've not been so quite exciting.
And even for like your family, is everyone talking about it at home and all that?
Yeah, Mum and Dad are really happy. I know, yeah. America.
Are they going to go? Is anyone going to go that you know?
My dad might go. Yeah.
You going to jump on, ticket
jump on the flight as well, that would be good.
A story of victory and vindication. The flights are now being booked. The travel agents are touting for business because this is the moment where Scotland is back on the world stage. And we'll find out in the coming weeks who Scotland will face in their first matches next year.
Well, that was News at 10. Coming up, we'll take a first look at tomorrow's newspapers in the press preview. Tonight, we're joined by columnist and broadcaster Steve Richards and the former Conservative Special Advisor Salma Shah. Welcome to both of you. And among the stories we'll be discussing, this on the front of the Times. Its headline, the Trans Guide to Help Protect Women is left in limbo, suggesting transgender people could be banned from single-sex spaces based on what they look like. That and plenty more coming up next.